Ready?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I now call this meeting of the Senate to order on Tuesday, July 29th, 2014 at 6:02 p.m. The first item on the agenda is a call to order and pledge of allegiance, so may everyone please stand. And Senator Rodriguez, if you can, please lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the next item on the agenda is a moment of silence for Malcolm Irving Glazer. So, okay, thank you. Moving on, we have first roll call. Everyone get out your clickers. Please click 1 to show that you are present. Is that everyone? Chris? We have a quorum count of 22. All right, moving down the agenda, additions, deletions, and or clarifications to orders of the day. I have made 2 suggestions here. So, Pro Tem Flores.
Motion to move welcome back to the floor before the confirmation.
Any objections to moving the joint resolution to before confirmation? None? Are there any other motions? Senator Schiffler?
Motion to remove presentation of possible changes to the bachelor's and master's regalia.
Any objections to removing presentation on possible changes for the bachelor's and master's regalia? Seeing none, it's no longer on the agenda. Senator Schiffler?
Motion to add SBS or SBR 55003.
Any objections to adding SBR 55-003 to the agenda? Seeing no objections, it's been added. Any other motions? Senator Ontar?
Move to approve the order of the day.
Any objections to approving the orders of the day? Seeing none, the agenda has been approved. Moving on, additions, deletions, and or changes to the minutes. There have been no minutes sent out since the last Senate meeting. Senator Yoa?
I move to postpone the minutes.
Any objections to postponing minutes? Seeing none, minutes have been postponed. Legislative branch report. We'll start with Senator Ontar from the Rules Committee.
We did not meet this past week, but we will have our last meeting for the summer this week. We do have new business, so it's not just going to be me bringing a party box. My committee members should get that joke. It was in my email. It wasn't that funny, but anyway. That's about it. Anybody got any questions?
Senator Yoel, special funding.
So we'll be having our last meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. For those that got my email, it said 7, we're actually having it at 6 p.m. like normal. We'll be going over the last 5 travel grants. We have 4 for fall semester and 1 for spring. So far, as of now, we have $75,000 for travel grants left for fall and $60,000 left for spring. We funded 2 organizations for signature event grant, so the leftover money will roll over to next spring, so we'll have $17,000 for that signature event grant. And yeah, that's all we have.
Any questions for Senator Yoel? Okay, moving on. Senator Trump, JC.
So JC has been continuing confirmations, and we have supervisor elections today, which is going for Senate this coming week, and next week we will have confirmation still. So if you're free on Thursdays at 3 p.m., you can always swing by to the committee. We've also been reviewing constitutions for organizations.
Any questions? Okay, Senator Hartman, UCGA.
UCGA had its last meeting of this group today, so I'll see the rest of the senators in the fall. Just a few things we're going to be working on and following up on our UWCs. We are working with the University Affairs of the Executive Branch to make sure that we're raising awareness and getting them that student membership. Then TEDx at USF, we're working with the CLC. We're going to follow up on that. USF Dining regarding styrofoam and removing it from the facilities. QEP for globalization of USF, and emailing the deans of each college so that we can establish a network. Just a little bit about our 10 days. We've had over 300 responses thanks to the committee, so I want to give a little shout out to, not everybody's here, but my vice chair, Jordan Kuttner, Abdul Aziz, of course, and other people that came, so Nick Picante and Ryan Richmond. I actually got a little certificate, so you can clap it out, please. Any questions?
Thanks. We're going to forego our appropriations and audits report. Moving on, Pro Tem Borzee.
Alright guys, hope everyone enjoyed the Senate Social. We had plenty of food. Hopefully it's a good time for you guys to meet each other if you haven't talked to each other. Next thing later on is for the fall committee times. Is that now or?
Oh yeah.
So we have each of the chairs that proposed committee times in the fall where they'll meet, so it'll help you plan your schedule. There's gonna be an email about it over the Google Doc, but this is like the first shot at it. So the way it is in the email, I'm gonna put a Google Doc so you can pick your top choices for the committee. That way it's kind of like the 2 or 3 committees you can make. Then I'll make out the schedules and send it out to everyone. So with that, the fall committee time starting on Monday, JEC at 3 p.m. with Kristen Traum. Tuesdays, special funding at 4 with Corey. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. for the University Community and Government Affairs. Thursdays, 12 p.m. for the corporations and audits, and 6 p.m. for the rules committee. So the schedule, you have morning, afternoon, and evening to accommodate people's schedules. So look out for that email. Next is Senex has been working on each committee standardizing their Senate operating procedures, so it's consistent between all the committees, so we're following the same rules. Next is the chairs are going to be working on having more development for you as a senator in the committee, working with Esgato on that. So your experience is more enriching, you learn more things, leadership development and other skills. Next week we're doing a tour of USF recycling to see if USF actually recycles. So that's what we're doing. And I'm working on the plaza ribbon cutting ceremony that was the Lakeland Plaza. And I went into a QEP meeting with Brandon. And the website is up to date with all statutes and attendance. And vote counts. So, that's all.
Thank you. Any questions for Aziz? Okay, I'll very quickly give my report since we last met. A couple of us had lunch with the people from the Buccaneers to kind of solidify what the rest of the process is going to look like. So we're almost done with that. Pretty exciting. Today we also met with a couple of us met with the people from some people from the Office of the President about the graduation caps and gowns. So expect in the fall to have them come in and present to you what they would like to see in the future with caps and gowns. I think it's pretty cool. They want to use sustainable caps and gowns made out of plastic bottles. So, but it's really good material. The only difference is it's probably $10 more. So I don't think it's a big deal. And they're also going to change the color well, not for sure, but they're looking into possibly changing the color of the undergraduate cap and gown to green instead of black. So be ready for that in the fall. Besides that, I have a couple of announcements or / reminders. The first Senate meeting is going to be on Tuesday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. And that's the second week of the school, so you'll get the first week off. And the Senate retreat is going to be the weekend right after that on September 7th. Besides that, I'm going to be working with President Coco on finding out, trying to figure out different traditions we can start in terms of us and UCF, since we're going to be playing them every year, and on investigating some stuff with parking. So, any questions? Okay, we will move on with the agenda, executive branch report. President Coco.
Alright. Kind of essentially here to report, but you know the supervisor elections is coming up soon. Hiring, it's been flawless thus far. Pretty much all our departments hired. Just got back from FSA. That was a good experience. Able to network with all the other student body presidents across the state and talked about textbook affordability. We're one of the few states that still charges sales tax on textbooks. So we're looking to maybe create some sort of a tax holiday of some sort so we can save some money on that. So meal plans. There was a bill that was passed. There are no more taxes you have to pay for on meal plans. You can be paying one cost up front. So that's a plus. We talked about potentially fundraising through the FSA, trying to get more students involved here on campus about what the Florida Student Association does and how important it is. And stuff like that. Yeah, that's about it. What else we do? That's pretty much it. Working with Hartman on some stuff. Alright, any questions for President Coco? Thank you. Alright, moving on. Judicial branch report.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Kalmus, I'm Senior Associate Justice. I just want to thank Andy and Aziz who's not here for the Senate Social. It was great. The food was great. The cake is on my stomach, really is. Anyhow, so we had a parking appeals 2 weeks ago, and we had 2 members from PATS attend. And we also had a meeting about the Parking Advisory Committee, and we're waiting from the Faculty Senate to get back with us on that. And we will be hiring our judicial clerk in a couple of weeks. We will also be holding a judicial training sometime for mid-September, so plan if you guys want to attend that, which anyone's welcome to attend. Plan for that, and then we're also planning a SG system-wide summit for mid-September as well. And then we will be revising forms for judgment panels, trials, judicial review, and any other judicial forms that we may have, and then revising ROPs and trial procedures in the upcoming weeks as well. Any questions? Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. Last but not least, the Scott report.
That's a new experience. Before I give my report, I just want to thank student government Senate leadership. For 3 years I've been trying to be put on the agenda because USC5 has played a vital role in your development. And this year's administration is the first year to say also work on, so I don't want to repeat any of those things, but we have, our office deals with a lot of contracts, and those are the things behind the scenes that you don't necessarily see. For instance, with Bulls Radio, we had a contract with WMNF that is over. We're negotiating one with WUSF, and so that's in the next couple contracts I state will be those that still need to be done or in the process of being completed. So the WUSF Bulls Radio contract, the Off-Campus Partners website allows students to search for a good off-campus place to live. That's in progress right now. Planners for next year, this year's just came in, the planner bid for next year are going out to bid. So hope to have that progress done pretty early. Your VoteNet contract, that is your voting software, is up in January, so we need to enter into a new contract September, October, so that is in progress. Currently, we have a 90-day contract for TechSmart, which is the how student organizations print, and so within 90 days, we'll come up with another 3-year contract. So 90 days is set, the 3 years in progress. And then Prince Across Campus, where you get your $2.50 print, is in the process of finalizing that contract too for the next 3 years. And the only thing I want to bring up that hasn't already been brought up is on Sunday, August 24th from 12 to 6, we are planning to do a all student government wide retreat for the student government leadership, which includes the Senate, the leadership, and the executive branch, judicial branch, and then the leadership of the agencies. So we hope that you're free at that time, you'll commit yourself to coming to that event. We tried to get August 31st, but with sorority fraternity rush and other things happening, there were no rooms available on campus. And other than that, for those of you who know, Jessica Morgan, today was her last day. She just walked out the door. So if you want to see her in the future, just go down one flight of stairs to New Student Connection. She's not there. But she's probably one of the better hires I made in my tenure here. We will miss her. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Nick. Any questions for Escato? Seeing no questions, we will move on to open forum. Anyone have any points for open forum? Okay, then we'll move on to general business. The first item on the agenda is a joint resolution on first reading. JBR 55-009, welcome back to Thor Joswiak. So do I see any motions? Senator Ulova.
I move to enter the first reading of Senate Bill.
Any objections to entering the first reading SBS 55-009? Or, excuse me, JBR 55-009? Seeing none.
Alright, so this is JBR 55-009, written by Solicitor General Dan Christopher, and presented by myself. Welcome back to Thor Joswiak. So be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government Assembly, whereas this assembly recognizes Thor Joswiak. Joswiak's return to the University of South Florida football team as an offensive lineman. Whereas we thank Mr. Joswiak for proudly representing the University of South Florida through his athletics endeavors. Whereas this assembly admires Mr. Joswiak's great resilience in overcoming immense challenges to once again join his teammates on the football field. Whereas Mr. Joswiak has proven to others that through that dedication and determination, one can truly overcome any obstacle. Therefore, be resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled, and on behalf of the student body, we congratulate fellow Bull Thor Joswiak on his return to the University of South Florida football team and wish him and his teammates all the best in the upcoming season.
Any objections to passing this resolution by acclamation? Seeing none, this bill passes.
Yeah, we're gonna win some for y'all this year, trust me. Share your story briefly. Back in
last spring, not this past one, the year before that. Had some heart trouble, was taking about 5 heart medications throughout that summer to try to come back. And that fall, the second day of fall camp last year, I passed out on a practice field and was rushed to Tampa General Hospital. I spent 8 days in Tampa General Hospital. They put me on experimental medication that was terrible, did bad things in the body. And we decided that I wasn't going to be able to return last season, so I had to get an ablation on October 23rd last year. Procedure, they go up and they go inside the heart, and it's like freezing a wart off an electrical issue in the heart. It's about an 8-hour procedure. Went through that. It was about 4 months of rehab, and then I joined the team back in this past spring. Felt great, and got my starting job back. And like I said, we're going to win some for y'all this year.
That's right. Recognize his family back there, mom, pops, and sisters.
I expect to see all of you at all the games.
Yeah. Come. New Secret Service right here.
Well, thank you. Alright, moving down the agenda, we'll now do confirmation. And we have John Toro, Supervisor of Elections. So, very briefly, the way that it works, you'll have 5 minutes to present. Once 4 minutes have passed, you have 1 minute left, if you want to pass it down. 30 seconds after another pass, and then once 5 minutes are over, I'll gavel you out, and then you have 4 seconds to make any last point or anything. Then you'll go into questions and answers. So, Jordan, yeah, first we'll have somebody introduce you.
Sorry guys, so just the first couple things is this stats, 33 people applied for the position, we usually do 3. Ms. Trump-Gross, really after last year, we definitely want to bring some integrity back to the EFC and do it and represent us in the best way. Who has knowledge of how to get people to vote, encourage them to vote, definitely practice some civic engagement. But at the same time, maybe have some background on how to collect some data on where we can kind of see where people are voting from, what parts of campus to drive kind of our marketing strategy towards that. Really understands the rules, understands the process, and demonstrated kind of ethical behavior. He's really just a sound person, and we're really excited for him to be our appointment. So, U.S. Justice is going to confirm.
Hi, hello. My name is John Kuros, and I'm your candidate for supervisor elections. I am majoring in political science and minoring in economics. Currently, I'm taking 4 classes, but that might be subject to change only because of my foreign language I might be exempted. I still have to take the test, figure it out. If not, I would be dropping one of these classes and adding a foreign language. Some of the clubs I've been involved with are Los and Dasa, but I'm involved in the kind of minimal, and the College Democrats, which I've been heavily involved with. I went from being vice president to president to the president now of the State Federation of College Democrats for the state of Florida, and the first USF student to hold that position. I am a member of the Young Democrats here in Roswell County, and I am the youth leader for the Hispanic Caucus for Democratic Party of Florida. Some experience, I am the former political director for State Representative Ricardo Rangel, who represents District 43, which where my hometown is, of Kissimmee. Under him, I worked on their campaign finance laws and regulations, also sunshine laws for the state of Florida, and some different regulations in the state when it comes to campaigning for state office. I interned for the Florida Democratic Party just last summer, and I did mostly the same things, contacted supervisors of elections, work with them to get voter registrations and get voter registrations on the ground. I'm also part of I was part of the Promise program, which is a youth development program from the Florida Democratic Party for young, inspiring leaders in the party, the state of Florida. Some of my future initiatives. The first thing I really would love to do is for voting, on voting, would like to add a tab so that you could tell us where exactly you voted. Did you vote at this polling location or that polling location? And I think it's necessary because then it helps me and our staff focus on that location and increasing turnout in that one certain location. I think it should be massive, if not a striking of all Title VII and redone. I've been reading Title VII for the last week and a half, and I can tell you it is redundant and there's many errors in there that need to be slashed out and fixed. Increasing the visibility and transparency of voting on campus. I think that we need to reach out to freshmen, to sophomores and seniors in all USF schools, and get the turnout. I know last year over 4,000 people voted in the general, and now it's a record. There's over 40,000 students that go to the University of South Florida. Why can't we get to 20,000 to 15,000 to around 35,000 people who vote? Another thing is I want to make clear and concise voting procedures. I know that last year there was many problems. They weren't followed, and I want to get them clear and concise, get back to people as quickly as possible. And I also want to provide clear understanding of the rules of candidates. I know last year I sat as a candidate for Senate, and I remember it lasted 15 minutes and I was confused. I think that we need to sit down, get everything sorted out so that you, the Senate, and the candidates running for your positions understand exactly what the rules are for campaigning. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I see any motions? Senator Sides.
I move to go into a question and answer period with a time limit of 10 minutes, 1 minute speaking time.
Any objections to a 10-minute question and answer period with 1 minute answering time? Seeing none, since you made the motion, you may go ahead and start with your first question.
I know you had mentioned that you feel like there's a lot of inconsistencies and you want to make some changes. What's one specific change that you think would be the most helpful if you could only make one?
Okay, and the first massive campaign change would be in Title VII would be, I think it's 700.35 and 700.36, because in those rules, it states 35 states something like if I were to have a shirt of any candidate for Senate, President, I would be considered a staff for the campaign. And 37, and I think 36 states that you need to provide a supervisor of election with a list of staff. So I think there's a little bit, those are some of the mistakes. Like you can't expect a kid who you gave your shirt to, be proper and follow all election rules and consider a staff member. So that's something I would really like to change and clarify.
Sorry, before we move on, I was going to do this. I'm going to give you one tap of the gavel when you have 30 seconds left, and then I'm going to tap at 15 seconds. And then once the minute is up, I'll tap it a couple times and you'll again have 10 seconds.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Sorry about that. Next question. Senator Lopez.
So you mentioned a lot about getting people to go out and vote. Have you thought about getting students to actually run for positions? Because I know some colleges are very lacking representation within the Senate.
Yeah.
So have you thought about any ways to kind of get turnout people to actually run for a seat or just any position in general?
That's actually a really good question. I've been looking over the application from last year because it's usually the same application every year. And I've been looking at it and I want to reform it a little bit so that it opens up the door for everyone. I also want to inform students. I think it's crazy. It's a crazy idea that these kids don't understand. You guys control millions of dollars in this room, and if they don't participate, then they get mad about spending not going to this or spending not going to that. So I think the first thing would be being very visible at orientation, being in their faces and saying, hey, look, we control X amount of money, and knowing that, hey, you can make a difference if you run and you're in this room making those decisions.
Next question, President Boraziz.
As supervisor, one of the qualities or I guess skills you would need to have is to be reliable and be able to work under stressful conditions. Can you give us an example where you're in a situation where you're under a lot of stress and you have to get the job done?
It's kind of crazy. I ran my campaign for president of the Florida College Democrats at the same time as my grandmother was going through chemotherapy and then passed away. She passed away 2 weeks before my election, and I still had to go around the state, campaign to different college Democrats and let them know what I was running on. Sadly, my grandmother passed away, but I won my election by a massive landslide. It's actually the biggest percentage of win in the history of Florida College Democrats. So it's one of those things where I had all this personal struggle going on, and I had to, kind of block that out and run my campaign and see it through.
Next question, Senator Trump.
Do you believe that the ERC should be proactive in issuing grievances, or do you think you should wait for grievances to be submitted?
I think a mixture of both, but my preference would be to first inform candidates before they even commit a grievance. I think a well-informed candidate will not break the rules purposely. So my responsibility would be to provide them a clear and concise rules of running an election, and then if they somehow commit a grievance, go up and tell them, hey, this is what you committed wrongly. This is an example of how to follow the rule. Let's see if we can get this done. And then if they do it again, then I would probably be a little bit more stringent on it and actually go to the court. That I think that would be the revision to it is go to the court. So that's what I would do. I'm sorry if I rambled a little bit.
Senator Sides.
I also think that there needs to be a lot of reform in the Title VII just because there is a lot of nitpicky stuff, and I do agree that you shouldn't be disqualified for something small. So how do you plan to give that kind of information, and I don't want to say leniency, but get like wiggle room, but still be able to hold a firm, strong position as you?
Yeah. So like I said in my presentation, I ran for Senate, and I was in the room for 15 minutes, and it was a quick presentation. If they allocate an hour, then I would use that full hour to say, hey, these are examples of how to clearly follow this rule, or figure out what in the spring and the fall for midterm elections, figure out which rule was most broken, and be like, hey, this is a good example of how you follow it. This is a bad example of how you break it, or how you break it. So I think just information, providing information is key.
Next question, Senator Hibba.
I think what you hear often is people saying they want to increase the voter turnout, like you just said right now. We realize that voter turnout right now at the university is around 10%. Voting is already online, it's already very easy. Can you think of something specific that'll increase that 10% to something like 40, 50?
It's really the key of my presentation is information, providing information, being persistent and providing that information to especially freshmen, because I know if you get someone to vote once their freshman year, next time elections come around, they're gonna vote again. It's just one of those things. Once they start voting, they'll end up voting for the next 4 years. So that's my thing, is really providing information, providing interesting, the exact information of what Senate controls, how to vote, and how to run.
Are there any more questions? Senator Hibba.
If I may continue with that same point, do you think it's the responsibility of of the ERC to push people to vote, or is it more so the responsibility of candidates to get people to vote?
I think it's my job. I think it's 100% my job. You know, I think supervisor elections, you know, even the supervisor elections, Hillsborough pushes that get registered, get registered, get registered. So I think it's 100% my responsibility to get people to vote, to just vote on things and have a voice in their student government. It doesn't really matter. So my thing is I register people to vote multiple times, and I've done it for nonpartisan organizations. And I've always said, get out there, vote, because if you are silent, then you can't complain about the government. You can't complain about the environment that you live in because you didn't do the one easy thing. So many people have died for this right. Why can't we go out there and actually be active?
Senator Trump.
What do you think the greatest challenge will be as supervisor of elections, and how do you plan on overcoming it?
It's a very tricky question. I think the biggest challenge is getting people to listen. And that's why you have to be persistent. You have to be very persistent. And you have to be the type of person that understands, that's tactful enough to communicate the same message to different types of people. You know, I've had to deal with all types of people from all different ages. You know, I've gone door to door, knocked for different candidates. And the hardest thing is to get them to listen to your point, to drop all your key objectives and put them a concise message. This is why you need to vote, X, Y, and Z. And if X, Y, Z doesn't work, then you have a backup plan. So I think that's my biggest challenge.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
Could you prioritize for us your extracurricular activities, including this position?
This would be my number one priority, is be supervisor of elections, because I am here in the state of Florida. Being president of the Florida College Democrats would be a close second. All the crazy election stuff is gonna happen in November, and after November, my position goes a little bit smaller, and the stress of moving around the state would be a little bit less. So after November, my schedule on academically and personally goes down tremendously. So I think after November, it's very light.
Are there any more questions? Do I see any motions? Senator Shiflett.
Motion to 5-minute discussion, 1-minute speaking time.
Any objections saying a 5-minute discussion, a 5-minute moderated caucus with 1-minute speaking time? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Shiflett, since you made a motion, you have the right to the floor.
I've known John for about 2 years now. Worked with him on a bunch of different democratic things, including here on campus, and I also served on Florida College Democrats with him. Everything that he says is completely his style. He's one of the most persistent people I've ever met, especially when it comes to getting you to commit to things, because he's an OFA style Democrat, and it's all about that hard yes. He has worked on a bunch of different campaigns. He has that experience in getting that voter turnout, and it may be that he has to tailor it for USF, but I believe he is one to rise to that challenge. I can't think of a better person to serve in this role, at least on campus right now.
Thank you. Any other points of discussion? Anyway, okay, Senator Seitz.
Motion to move into voting procedures.
Any objections to moving into voting procedures? Seeing none, we will now vote. So get out your clickers. If you would like to vote yes, please click 1, no click 2, and 3 to abstain. We're missing one person. Oh, we're good. The vote count 20-0-2 with me as one of the abstaining votes and the other abstention. Could you please say your abstention?
I serve on them with a number of different, Democratic organizations.
Okay, thank you. So the vote count of 20-0-2, he passes. You could raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida,
As a member of the student government at the University of South Florida,
I state your full name,
I, John Quiros,
do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Supervisor of Elections,
do hereby affirm to hold the office of Supervisor of Elections,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay. Pro tempore Aziz.
I have a motion for a 5-minute recess because the clerk's computer is gonna shut down. She can't stop it. So, what 5 minutes she can restart the computer.
Are there any objections to a 5-minute recess? Seeing no objections, we're now in recess at 6:45 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
No, you never seen them right there? No.
I'm working out, right? Executive branch? That's what's going on. Oh, really?
Trying to give more media. Oh, yeah. I want everyone to continue clapping. I want the room to
Not if you want to, if you already registered for it. See, what's gonna happen is, I'm gonna get oh my god, not anything, but like I'm I don't know where your mind is going. No, I just swipe and leave it here. It's in your car. You don't need it. Yeah. What? I'm getting a credit card. No, that changed. What? Oh, I didn't think you were gas money. I didn't I
Mike.
I don't know. I can't.
It's taking the entire
I haven't.
Been here for like an hour too long.
Bill, do we need IT? We got one right there. We need IT.
Why?
It's been 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not paying
So like, everybody puts out a card, right, and whoever has the
Is it recording? Oh, it's just kidding. We are now back at 6:51 p.m. We will move on with general business. The next item is on the agenda. Here, I'll put it up. The next item on the agenda is Senate Resolution on First Reading, SBR, 55-003. Right here. Do I see any motions? Senator Hibble.
Motion to enter the second reading.
It's first reading.
The first reading of SBS 55-003.
Any objections to entering the first reading of SBR 55-003? Seeing no objections.
A Senate resolution to honor the death of our fellow student Bull, Alex Joger. Be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled. Whereas this assembly with heartfelt sorrow has heard of the passing of Alex Joger. Whereas in his passing we mourn the loss of a young man of high character who exemplifies the values of the University of South Florida. Whereas we remember a student who positively impacted the university members around him. Whereas we, the student senate assembled, will honor his memory and contribution to the moment of silence on September 2nd, 2014. Whereas a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the family of the deceased, to the University of South Florida Tampa campus, and the College of Arts and Sciences thereof. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government Assembled, that on behalf of the student body, this body offers our deepest condolences to the friends and family of Alex Shoger.
Senator Hartman,
Move to pass by acclamation.
any objections to passing this resolution by acclamation? Seeing none, this resolution passes. The next item on the agenda is statutory legislation on second reading. The first bill that we have is SBS 55-009, the Public Records Reform Act. Any motions? Senator Hanlon.
Move to enter the second reading of SBS 55-009, Public Records Reform Act.
Any objections to entering the second reading of SBS 55-009? Seeing no objections, you start whenever you're ready.
We were over it last week, but just to recap, we're changing it so that whoever creates a public record is now the custodian, and that instead of being responsible for all records, that that burden now falls on the person who creates the record. Gary Minka will now just be, or whoever the Escada will now be the processor instead of the custodian. So they're only responsible with telling a person specifically or asking them for a public records when they receive a request.
Alright, so Gary's here if you wanna give a historical perspective on why we're doing this, because we were here last time.
Yes, last year during the elections, we had an issue whether student government by definition is considered a public agency like the University of South Florida is. And University Council said yes we are and yes we're not. So last year we entered into, especially during the general elections in the ERC, where they had a little latitude to slow down, to take their time in giving a public record. Not that they did that, I'm just saying that latitude did exist. And first it was encouraged by University Council that was the stance, but then when they realized we could be the test case in Florida, she didn't want the University of South Florida to be the test case in Florida for student governments as a whole in the state of Florida to be sued. So she recommended that we go back to following the state law, even though we may or may not be a public agency. We are partially, but partially we're not, because of the FERPA, the Buckley Amendment, the private records that you as a student maintain. And she also said, and to avoid any kind of discrepancy, because I am not a student government member, I am a member of the university, I am applicable to the state law, whereas you may or may not be applicable to the state law, and directly you are, directly you may not be, depending on which stance you take here today. So she recommended that we follow the public agency laws like everybody else, and that I be removed as a custodian and just handle the processing itself, because you who create the record is the actual custodian, because you house that on your computer, in your P drive, or your drive, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Moving on down to the second page. It says in the event the request is made to a SCADA member and is acting in good faith to reject it to the processing agent in 2 business days. And same, moving on to 205.1.6, having written notification. And again, like last time, removing custodian and adding processing agent. And adding in good faith, because you should handle your records in good faith. These are all public officials. And this adds a notification of non-compliance, an aspect to it if you don't hand in the records, you receive non-compliance issuance. And then also the processing agent shall notify the requested if the record does not exist. So like for example, I requested Brandon's emails from 2006. He designed the university in 2006. Like Gary would say that those emails don't exist. And also, since you're moving things more online, if things are on the website, they'll be redirected to the website. Same paper, same touch. And just clarifying, there's 20 cents for a two-sided copy. I think I can scroll down. Okay. Guess you can scroll from there.
I'll go straight to the next page.
So, this one is saying if you're gonna want, some people may want to request audio files. Gary?
Could you go back to the previous top page, please? No, like one down, one more down. Right there. You might, on the 151, what if a request is made to the ERC supervisor or someone that's not a member of Student Government Advising? It should still be redirected to my office, I think. Anybody, anywhere in Student Government can be, a public records request can be made to them. So the way I read that is too defining to my office alone. Am I reading that correctly?
In the event that a request is made to a member of Esgato, other than the processing agent, we must act in good faith to redirect the request to the processing agent within 2 business days.
If I may, my question is, what if the request is made directly to you as President Pro Tempore? What are you going to do? Or it's made to Andy, or it's made to the ERC supervisor? Should that be stated in there too? Should it be Student Government and Esgato? That's my question.
You can add in student governments, just to include everyone.
So,
It's more clear.
Senator Hibble?
Motion to amend to 205.1.5.1 to manage needs justice.
So, what exactly? Senator Hibble?
Could you just cross out advising, training, operations, and just have it say member of student government, because Esgato falls under student government. Include all of them.
Does that sound good? Gary?
Yeah, technically that's true and not true, but since we are defined under bureaus, in that sense it would make sense.
This one is going back down to the audio format. If you want audio files, bring your own like flash drive. And just processing agents, changes. This has agencies too, so everyone's included. And this one, by meeting, at least 24 hours notice, just to be consistent with our meetings, having 24 hours notice. And minutes being accepted within 30 business days. And instead of saying we have a webmaster, may change to have a designated webmaster. Like for example now Maggie is a designated webmaster for the executive branch, and the clerk of the court for the judicial branch, and myself for the legislative. That's it. Designated.
Senator Hartman?
So in the event that an individual graduates and a record request is made, that person no longer checks their email search, what will be the case?
That'll be a Gary question to answer.
Once you graduate, you're no longer an employee of the state through student government. If the record exists, only your work emails, not your private emails, can be public records requested, but it will probably require a Boolean search to go through IT. It costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to locate that information, depending on what is requested. So yes, it can be done, but it would actually fall under me, and I would actually turn that over to University Counsel and IT to handle that public record request.
If I may add to that, basically anytime something like that comes through, whether it's a public request or an access request to someone who's been removed or no longer works for the university, a specific person from any department will have to make the request, and then as Director Mankin mentioned, then it goes to University Counsel, and then our IT security department determine whether it's even legal to access those, and if so, how much and what can be accessed. If they still even exist, because your mailbox is closed typically after 30 days of leaving the university.
Any other questions or points?
Senator Rodriguez.
If there are no more questions or suggestions, I motion end second reading and enter voting.
Are there any objections to entering voting for SPS 55-009? Seeing no objections, we will now vote. Everyone get out your clicker. Please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Missing one person. Unless somebody's out of the room. Okay, out. With a count of 20-0-1, with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is the second reading of SPS 55-010. So do I see any motions? Senator Hayline.
Move to enter the second reading of SPS 55-010.
Any objections to entering the second reading of SPS 55-010? Seeing no objections, we are now in the second reading.
Statutory amendment. This is just removing the whole of 606.
Again, just because all of these functions are covered by some other faction, some other party, and if something was needed, we can always just make them ad hoc.
Senator Hartman.
There are no questions regarding this. I move to vote on this.
Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Seeing no objections, we will now vote. Everybody get out your clickers. Please click 1 if you would like to vote yes, 2 if you would like to vote no, and 3 to abstain. Is that everyone? With a vote count of 20-0-1, with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is procedural legislation on second reading. The only bill that we have is SPP 55-001, update to the Senate Executive Committee, membership and voting rights. So do I see any motions? Senator Hibber.
Motion to enter first reading of SCP 55-001.
Are there any objections to entering the first reading? Seeing no objections.
Alright, so this SBP 55-001 was our first procedural bill this year, as indicated by its numerical order. The purpose of this bill is to add into our ROPs the vice chairs to the membership of the SEDEX, and to allow them to vote in the absence of the chairman or woman who is absent in that case. I think that was indicated. Anyway, this was practiced when I first started here 3 years ago. It was standard practice for vice chairs to be there, although they did not grant them voting rights in the absence of the chair. And then Andy Rodriguez, and a few other people went down to UCF and saw that they did have the vice chairs under SEDEX, and they figured, hey, this is a good idea because it'll help SEDEX have a stronger voice for people, and also account for chairs who are absent in for whatever case, whatever reason. So, go down to the changes. Section 9 of our ROPs, and 9.2 the Senate Executive Committee. So the changes begin in 9.2.2.1, where membership shall include the Senate President, Pro Tempore, and the 5 standing committee chairs and the 5 standing committee vice chairs as inactive non-voting members. So the vice chairs will just be considered inactive, non-voting, but they will be in attendance and they will have speaking rights. And quorum will be defined as majority of the voting members, excused absences will not count towards quorum. Those are just, standardized things to keep quorum, defined for this meeting body. The way our ROPs worked, when we looked through it, was that the other meeting bodies had quorum defined for each kind of meeting. And we assumed, and I think it's good reasoning to say that it is done that way, so that each meeting, will be able to define their own quorum outside of the rest, without a sweeping definition of quorum, depending on the nature of that meeting body. So that's what we have here, that's why that's inserted, and then the voting rights, this also clarifies, adding on to the inactive non-voting members section. So voting rights shall only be granted to the Senate President Pro Tempore and the 5 standing committee chairs. In the event that a standing committee chair is absent, the corresponding vice chair shall become an active member and shall vote in their place. Important keyword there is corresponding, because we don't want a JPC vice chair voting for a rules chair. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, so that's the changes in the bill.
Senator Miller.
We just go back to, in 9.2.3.1.1. Now, what I'm reading is that the vice chair shall become an active member. That it seems to me that it's stated as indefinitely. Not just, I mean, in the event, yes, but then
Okay.
once
So
that event actually happens.
I concur. Okay, so we'd like to add an ending time for their instatement. Is that your question?
That is my recommendation, yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, you can make a motion for that.
Senator Schiffler.
I move to append, for that meeting, to the end of 902, or 9.2.3.1.1.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Senator Hibble.
Friendly amendment, instead of making it for that meeting, we can instead have it until the return of the standing chair. That way, if the chair reason comes back within a meeting, they can regain the voting rights.
Do you accept his amendment?
I do.
Could you repeat that, please?
In place until the return of the standing chair.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Seeing none. Did you have something?
I was gonna say, in other SOPs we did until the adjournment of the meeting.
Yeah.
Kind of different wordings were added.
Senator Rodriguez.
In 9.2.2.1, it seems to me that when it says membership includes Senate President Pro Tempore, the 5 standing committee chairs, and the 5 standing committee vice chairs as inactive, non-voting members. Sounds like they're all non-voting members.
Well, one solution would be to change the formatting. You could make it a sub-clause for the vice chairs and say the standing committee vice chairs shall serve as inactive non-voting members. And then you can have, and the first clause, or 2 sentences in the same clause would say, the 5 standing committee chairs shall serve as active voting members.
You could also just make this a sentence, add a period, remove and make this a capital.
Oh.
So do I see any amendments or any motion? Senator Hibble. Okay. Senator Aziz.
So motion to strike the end, start a sentence in capital T. And reading define the 5 standing committee vice chairs as inactive non-voting members.
So like that?
Yep.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Senator Schiffler.
That's not a sentence.
Senator
like,
Chocolate.
The second one is not a sentence.
Shall serve as.
Shall serve
Where am I?
as.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
shall serve as.
So yes, move to add shall serve as.
Which even as a sentence, it's still a clause of our rules.
Senator Miller.
Still seems as though the five, standing committee vice chairs are not in membership in the Senate.
It's not specific.
Yes, but then there's a period. And then it has a new sentence which states the five standing committee vice chairs shall serve as inactive non-voting members.
Shall serve as members.
It doesn't include them in membership in the first year.
Okay, Senator Hibble.
Motion to rephrase 9.2.2.1 as membership shall include the Senate President pro tempore and the 5 standing committee chairs and the 5 standing committee vice chairs, period. The Senate President pro tempore and the 5 standing committee vice chairs shall serve as inactive non-voting members.
This is the five standing committee vice chairs.
Vice chairs.
Okay, so could you repeat that one more time?
So I'm doing the purple. And at the end of that, make it another sentence.
Subclause.
Or subclause.
Should I do a subclause?
And the Senate President pro tempore and
I think you mean
Just the five standing committee vice chairs.
and 5 standing committee vice chairs
think
shall
it's
serve as non-voting members.
Repeat.
The Senate President, pro tempore, and the 5 standing committee vice chairs shall serve as inactive non-voting members.
No, the president and the voting for all, well, they all get voting rights. They do get voting rights. So five standing committee vice chairs, shall serve as inactive non-voting members, which are updated, we strike that. Strike this, after we add that.
Are there any objections to his amendment? Senator Hartman.
It already states in 9.2.3.1 that only these individuals have voting rights, so why are we saying that they?
Well, it's to
None.
clarify, Mr. Miller
Or you're
thought
just
that
saying the
the
double.
initial one, the membership did extend to the.
Isn't it just redundant?
Well, we put it to vote, except decides that they need to vote.
Senator Eloy.
The reason is that the clerks must inactive so they don't count towards quorum. That's the main reason it causes that thing. Otherwise, the vice chairs count as quorum.
Senator Rodriguez.
There are no more suggestions, I motion to end voting.
Okay, there is a suggestion, so.
We still have the motion on the floor, I believe, don't we?
I rescind.
No, Hibble rescind?
What was your motion?
Because you had objections on his amendment.
Not this. This was mine.
What, you guys made, nobody made objections, you guys made comments after you made a motion.
You guys said there were objections.
We have a separate question.
Yeah, it wasn't an objection.
This was my objection. Nobody rescinded.
Okay. Yeah, you made the motion.
I made the objection to the way that it was phrased.
Okay, so, if it'll make you feel better, does anybody have any objections to this amendment? Seeing no objections, we can now move on. Pro tempore is easy.
My suggestion is to change until the return of standing chair to shall vote in place until the adjournment of the meeting. In all other SOPs and like documents, you have adjournment of the meeting.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Seeing none, now on. Senator Schiffler.
I believe that Senator Hartman is right in what he said earlier, though, that this that we are saying the same thing twice, so you can remove it from the voting rights section and just leave the voting rights section to say, if in the event that the standing committee chair is absent from a meeting, so on and so forth. Because we are stating it twice, that the president pro tempore and the 5 standing committee chairs are voting members. We say it twice in 9.2.2.1 and 9.2.3.1. And quorum says it says voting members, but you're defining voting members twice, at least that's the way it reads to me.
What if we do this for them?
So I guess my move would be to remove 9.2.3.1 because it's redundant as far as what we defined up there.
So you just wanna get rid of this?
Yes, because to me it's redundant.
Are there any objections? Senator Yoel.
Making them a member of the committee does not automatically give them voting rights. So that clause pretty much says who has voting rights in the committee, so it's imperative to have that. Otherwise, no one has voting rights in the committee.
Wait, so then could we then just say who are in 9.2.2.1 who will have voting membership shall include?
Senator Miller.
I move to strike non-voting in 9.2.2.1.1.
You want?
If that'll remedy the situation.
Debate, motion carries.
I object.
Okay, he objects. Did you say your objection?
My objection is that in Senex, we added the non-voting members to clarify that the vice chairs are inactive non-voting until later on we clarify the voting rights. That when the chair is not there, then they become active and you can vote. So we added the non-voting. So they won't count towards quorum. Let's see when all the chairs are there, but when a chair leaves, they become active and they get voting rights.
So do you rescind your motion?
I did.
Okay, perfect. Senator Yoel.
If I can just clarify. The reason why we made it redundant was just so that for anyone who was reading the document, it'd be very clear to know what the voting rights were of each member to make sure there's no confusion in the future. So it's kind of redundant by saying it twice, but it's to make sure it's clear who are members and who actually has voting rights in the committee. And that's why it's stated essentially twice, a little bit differently in each section.
Senator Rodriguez.
There are no more suggestions. I motion not into moving.
Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Senator Miller.
Do we not move it into a third reading?
No, it's only one second. That's 2 readings. So do you not object?
I do not.
Okay. So are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll now enter voting for SBP 55-001. Please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Seems that we're missing 1 vote. Is one person gone? Chipper.
No one signed up.
Chris.
Who?
He's on the vote. Chris. He's upstairs.
With a vote of 21 to 0 to 1, me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. That is all for general business. We'll now move on into announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? I'm just going to restate my announcements. First meeting of the fall, September 2nd, 6 p.m. this room. The following Sunday, September 7th, we will be having our Senate retreat. Also, I have another announcement actually. I'd like to thank everyone for doing such a great job so far this summer. You can really, honestly, the confirmation today and all the great questions you guys asked has really shown like how far you guys have come since the first confirmation and the first Senate meeting. Any other announcements? Pro Tempore Aziz.
I'd like to thank the 3 alternates. We only have 1 today, but all 3 alternates have done really an exceptional job. Just even for the summer, they've taken charge in each one of the committees and gone above and beyond. So, give a big round of applause.
Any other announcements? Seeing no more announcements, we will move into final roll call. Everybody get out your clickers. Click 1 to show that you're present. And we have a final count of 22 senators. Do I see any motions? Senator Hebo. Are there any objections to adjourning? Seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned at 7:23 p.m.